Tonight on To The Point.
Repeatedly buying children for sex should be considered a felony in the state of California.
The bill pushing for harsher penalties for child sex traffickers. Why some lawmakers say it's not enough. Several people hurt after a fire truck slams into a home. The latest on the investigation. Plus Boeing on Capitol Hill.
I'm not here today because I want to be here. I'm here today because I felt that I must come forward.
What a whistleblower is claiming about the company's planes. And fighting climate change. How new tech is taking pollution right out of the air. We start tonight with breaking news. There is a heavy law enforcement presence near the 770 block of Southland Way. This is a live look at the scene. Right now, we know the sheriff's office, CHP, and SWAT are on scene. We are working to learn more about what's happening, and we'll bring you the latest as we get it on air and, of course, online at abc10.com. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and our first story tonight is about protecting California's most vulnerable kids. That's the goal of a bipartisan bill heading through the State House right now, and it aims to make penalties harsher for people who solicit children for sex. It wants to penalize the act of solicitation, and lawmakers agree. This is a worthy cause, but as Becca Hober shows us, there's disagreement over the details. And just a warning, this story does deal with the difficult topic of child sex abuse.
At 14, I was first sold to men and purchased for sex throughout my teen years. I was lured, tricked, threatened, and forced to use drugs, and at no point or at any age did I choose to be there.
Sandy Esparza shared her story of being sex trafficked as a teen before the California Senate Public Safety Committee this week.
Perhaps the justice ship has sailed for me. I'm okay with that. I'm not here for me. I'm here for them. For the children still out there being bought and sold, feeling afraid and forgotten. Aren't they worthy of protection?
She's advocating for Senate Bill 1414. It would make harsher penalties for people who pay for sex with a minor, whether that sex actually happens or not. It's about penalizing the act of solicitation.
Currently in California, any person who solicits, agrees to engage in, or engages in any act of commercial sex with a minor is charged only with a misdemeanor.
Republican Senator Shannon Grove is the bill's author.
We are not discussing statutory rape or romantic relationships. We're talking about commercial sexual exploitation of children. And I hope we can all agree here today that repeatedly buying children for sex should be considered a felony in the state of California.
She introduced the bill in February along with two Democratic colleagues. Currently, someone convicted of paying for sex with a minor faces a misdemeanor with a maximum penalty of 1 year in county jail and a fine of up to $10,000. Though the law right now says someone can spend as few as just 2 days in jail. Grove's bill would make solicitation of a minor a felony with at least 2 years behind bars and a fine of up to $25,000.
This bill is incredibly overbroad, in my opinion.
Democratic Senator Scott Wiener sits on the Public Safety Committee. He and others expressed concerns the bill was so broad it could have unintended consequences.
I think human trafficking, we should be throwing the book at people. This bill will sweep in a lot of people who are not trafficking. This bill will send people to state prison, put people in the sex offender registry, which is basically effectively, in many ways, the end of their life for people, whether or not they're engaged in human trafficking. And again, even if there's no physical contact whatsoever.
Ultimately, against Grove's wishes, the committee amended Senate Bill 1414, approving harsher penalties for people trying to buy sex with teens 15 and under.
To water this down to say that 16, 17-year-olds don't matter.
The amended bill will go on to the Senate Appropriations Committee.
All right, Becca Hober joins us right now. Becca, we know that Senator Grove, was pretty upset about the changes to her bill.
Yeah, you heard her say she believes this committee watered it down. She even agreed to two of the committee's amendments, hoping to find middle ground, but the committee passed the bill along even with the amendment she didn't like. Now, committee members say for them that is middle ground. Some still have concerns about possible unintended consequences of her bill, but they feel the changes are fair, Alex.
All right, and there are still hurdles for this legislation to be clear before it becomes a law. We will be following it, and Becca, thank you so much. All right, at least 6 people were hurt, and one of them critically after a crash involving 2 cars and a Stockton Fire Department engine this morning. Take a look at this. This home on West Lane was left with a gaping hole following the crash. Police say the fire engine was heading north on West Lane with its lights and sirens activated on its way to a call. That's when police say a red car slammed into the engine, causing it to go over the median and hit a pickup truck, eventually landing inside someone's home. No one was inside the house, and the driver of that pickup truck is in critical condition at a hospital tonight.
This is a very busy intersection, and it's nothing to see, just minor fender benders, nothing on this scale. I've never seen nothing this bad.
And the 4 firefighters and someone in the red car were hurt and are expected to be okay. Police are investigating what factors contributed to the crash. They are asking witnesses to call investigators. And tonight, officials are investigating what caused a fire in Rancho, Cordova. It happened at a business suite just before 4 o'clock this morning along Old Placerville Road. Firefighters say the building is home to businesses and a warehouse that had chemicals and combustible items inside. They say that it ignited and added to the fire, and thankfully, no one was inside the building at that time. Right now, police in Turlock are investigating a shooting that killed a 19-year-old and hurt another person. It happened on Wayside Drive Tuesday night near Kenwood Avenue. One person was taken to the hospital, and the 19-year-old died on scene. No arrests have been made, and if you have any information, they ask that you call police. And happening right now, the city of Elk Grove is hosting a meeting about the plan to relocate the Sacramento Zoo. This is a live look at that meeting, and the project has been in the works for months. Now the public is getting a chance to weigh in. ABC 10's Garsh Palsenga joins us with more on what this project could include.
Alex, it has been almost 3 years since it was announced that the Sacramento Zoo could be coming to Elk Grove, and that proposed site where that zoo could be built is near the intersection of Kremer Road and Lots Parkway. And the Sacramento Zoo is nearly 100 years old and sits on about 14 acres. And officials say it requires extensive renovations to meet the standards for caring for animals. And since they can't expand at the existing site, that is why they want to move to that proposed 65-acre site in Elk Grove. So this evening's meeting comes now as the Elk Grove city leaders could make a big decision on May 8th whether it wants to move the zoo to Elk Grove.
This is the largest capital project the city of Elk Grove has ever contemplated taking on. We're talking about $302 million in total for that first phase of construction.
The city says the funds will likely come from multiple sources like the budget, bonds, and community partnerships. So we will have much more on this project and on tonight's meeting on tonight at 11.
And tonight, more fallout from the Arizona abortion ban. Efforts to undo the 1864 law are underway as members of the Arizona House are meeting to repeal the ban. This is now the second time Democrats are trying to do so and only need 2 Republican votes to succeed. 2 Republican senators said they would vote to undo the decision, which would allow this to go to the Democratic governor. But other Republican leaders are remaining steadfast to defeat the repeal attempts.
The point is we need to protect life, and I believe that life begins at conception, and that someone who ends that life is a murderer. They have no right to do that. I believe in women's opportunity, and I believe women have great opportunity in our country. They can do anything they want that is legal and moral. Abortion should not be legal because it is immoral.
If the House votes to appeal the law, then it will go to the Senate, which could take up to 3 days. The Arizona Attorney General says if the repeal doesn't pass, the earliest date the ban would take effect is June 8th. All right, still ahead onto the point. The new tool helping to fight climate change, how it's taking pollution right out of the air.
Another mild day for us. On the warmer side of things, though, a few high clouds, how that will impact our forecast heading into the end of the week.
And later, Boeing is in the hot seat as a whistleblower testifies on Capitol Hill, what he's saying about the company's planes and how Boeing is responding. All right, Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods with a look at our beautiful forecast over the next several days, if I don't say so myself.
I know, you can just re-rack this forecast because we're going to hold conditions pretty steady all the way through Sunday. Temperatures today, upper 70s to near 80. We've got a couple of reporting stations down Fairfield and Marysville. Hopefully those come back online pretty soon here. 70s throughout the foothills and 60s up top for this year. Great for that evening walk. Watch out for the bugs, though, especially those mosquitoes. They are out and about. Temperatures will fall into the 60s by 10 p.m., 50s for overnight lows. That's how we start off our Thursday. Occasional cloud cover drifting through, but all in all, it is a dry and mild forecast. Now, there are some weather pattern changes we're going to track. Into the weekend, we'll stay near 80 with those occasional breezy northwest winds, but then cooler and showery weather on tap. Most notably will be the cooler temperatures. That'll start to take shape by early next week. Monday, we'll see it first along the coast, and then it will press its way inland, just getting us back to near normal highs. But over the weekend, again, got a couple of ridges of high pressure that keep that storm track to the north of us and the showers through the Pacific Northwest. By the time we get to the end of next week, we'll start seeing that ridge of high pressure breaking down and the potential for some showers to move our way. It's a little far off to get finer details, but we'll be monitoring. Highs near 60 tomorrow for the Sierra, with 70s to near 80 through the foothills. Highs across the coast are near 70. Once we head inland, we're back into the 80s. Again, a near repeat forecast from today. Morning lows in the 50s and highs in the 80s. For the mountains, it is dry, great travel weather through the high country. Beautiful for some hikes through the foothills. Just watch out if you're by any of that water, because it is very cold, fast, and high this time of year, all the way from the Sierra through the valley. Temperatures cool next week.
All right, Monica, thank you. Next, on To the Point, the new tool in our own backyard helping to fight against climate change. Plus, Boeing on Capitol Hill, what a whistleblower is accusing the company of. All right, breaking news just into our newsroom. We have an update. CHP says one of their officers was involved in a shooting near the 770 block of Southland Way. This is a live look at the scene right now. Officials say a possible suspect is currently barricaded in a nearby home. Right now, we know the sheriff's office, CHP, and SWAT are on scene. We have a crew on scene as well, and we are working to learn more details about what is happening. And we'll bring you the latest as we get them on air and online at abc10.com. All right, now to our next story. Right in our own backyard, there's a new high-tech facility that's fighting climate change. And this is a first-in-the-nation facility, and it's actually right in the San Joaquin County area. So tonight we have a special guest. We have ABC 10 anchor Laura Painter, who's really been working on this story. And really this facility, I mean, they're promising to take pollution out of the air, right?
Yes, Alex, a lot of big promises here. It's called direct air capture. And tonight I take you inside the new plant and talk with experts on the risks and rewards of this budding technology.
Climate change is the existential challenge and threat of our time.
Set in the rural flatlands of Tracy, Silicon Valley startup Heirloom launched what aims to be a game changer in the fight against climate change.
This is one important solution that can help get us all the way to net zero.
In other words, cutting greenhouse gas emissions to as close to zero as possible. One way to do that is by taking those harmful gases out of the air and putting it somewhere else. Heirloom says this facility in Tracy can remove and store as much as 1,000 tons of carbon dioxide a year. It's the first commercial facility of its kind in the U.S., and it's right here in San Joaquin County. It's called direct air capture. This technology has been compared to a time machine with promises of turning back the clock on climate change. While it's the first in the U.S., the International Energy Agency says there are at least 27 others around the world, with another 130 in the works.
To take carbon directly out of the air and store it permanently is an incredible opportunity, and I want to see more.
When it comes to effectiveness, experts say where you put a facility like this doesn't really matter.
The CO2 is just everywhere in the atmosphere, and if you take it out in any place, it eventually reduces it everywhere.
So here's how it works. These towers are filled with limestone, which acts like a sponge, soaking up the CO2 from the air. The CO2 is then eventually embedded into cement, which is then used in construction.
To be able to use something that is a waste product, essentially, that creates an enormous amount of harm, and to be able to repurpose it for a better use. First in the country.
But is it enough?
It's a little hard to take this project too seriously because it's so small.
Direct air capture requires a lot of energy, but experts say if done with and alongside renewable energy, like solar or wind, facilities like this could make a difference on a large scale.
The only way to even arguably do this reasonably is to use renewable energy, which I will say Heirloom is doing.
Heirloom admits this facility is small, and that's by design.
We're starting small, right? We have a long way to go in scaling up a lot of really important solutions to the climate crisis. Direct air capture is one of them.
There's not safety concerns with this particular technology in the way it's being used here. In other words, the carbon that is being pulled from the atmosphere is not being stored through pipelines underground, which some environmental activists have expressed concern about. This is actually being trucked to a facility and then embedded into cement. So it is a benign process.
U.S. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm's referring to another similar process, carbon capture, which is causing concern among critics. They say storing the carbon is risky.
Carbon pipelines are very dangerous. There's a high risk of rupture. And if carbon dioxide is released in a pipeline rupture, you can be talking about dozens, hundreds of people being hurt or even killed within 20 minutes. And it's underregulated.
Critics worry about the long-term effects.
Is the storage really permanent, or is it leaking? And if it's leaking, what harms does that create? What does that do to the water? Does it leach up bad stuff from the ground?
Questions remain about the impacts on soil, water, and potential unintended consequences.
The main thing we need to do on climate is eliminate the use of fossil fuels. We know how to do that, but we aren't doing it fast enough. And anything that distracts us from that goal presents a grave moral hazard. This project does exactly that. This project distracts us.
And some experts worry carbon capture encourages more use of fossil fuels and the creation of greenhouse gases.
The question is sort of the end result. Did you actually end up removing more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere than you put into the atmosphere to make the process happen? And so if you're using a lot of energy to do this, and that energy comes from fossil fuels, you're screwing up.
And the goal is to have more facilities like this to continue to fight climate change across the country. Alex?
All right, Laura, thank you so much. And if you want to read more about this story and the future of it in our area, make sure you head to our website, abc10.com. All right, let's get into your price points tonight because we could be stuck with higher interest rates for longer than many had hoped. After a third consecutive month of higher than expected inflation, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell says the current policies may need more time to work. There had been hopes of several interest rate cuts starting this summer if inflation slowed down more, but right now it's unclear when we could see those cuts. All right, Ford is recalling more than 450,000 cars due to a battery detection issue that can result in loss of drive power, increasing crash risks. And the call covers some 2021 to 2024 Bronco Sports and then 2022 to 2023 Mavericks. Dealers will recalibrate the impacted vehicles at no cost. Owner notification letters are set to be mailed out on May 13th. A Boeing whistleblower testified on Capitol Hill today with serious allegations about the safety of certain Boeing models. And he claims part of the plane wasn't put together properly and could fall apart years later, which Boeing is saying is inaccurate. Here's the latest from Washington.
I'm not here today because I want to be here. I'm here today because I felt that I must come forward.
Sam Salopur, a Boeing engineer, claims the Boeing 787 Dreamliner could fail over time because he believes it was put together improperly. He accuses Boeing of taking manufacturing shortcuts by ignoring gaps in the fuselage to save time and money.
In a rush to address its bottlenecks in production, Boeing hit problems, pushing pieces together with excessive force to make them appear that the gaps don't exist, even though they exist.
So far, Salopur has not provided any documentation to support this claim. Boeing calls the claims inaccurate and says it's fully confident in the safety and durability of the 787. This week, Boeing invited cameras inside of its South Carolina facility, where senior engineers explained how Boeing tested the fuselage, simulating 165,000 flights with no issues.
It's actually the longest fatigue test of any commercial airplane that's ever been run.
The FAA reviewed and approved Boeing's production quality after the issue was first raised years ago. It's conducting another investigation into Salopur's claims. Claims industry experts say warrant many questions.
We got to pay attention to our whistleblowers, but when you hear somebody conflating things a little bit, I begin to be concerned about their overall message.
And Salopur accuses Boeing of retaliating against him after speaking out. Boeing says it encourages employees to speak up about any issues. It also says that reports to an internal tip line for quality concerns are up 500% just this year. We'll be right back after this short break. All right, if you're just joining us, we are following breaking news tonight in Sacramento. CHP says one of their officers was involved in a shooting near the 770 block of Southland Way. This is a live look at the scene right now. Officials say a possible suspect is currently barricaded in a nearby home. And right now, we know the sheriff's office and SWAT are on scene. This is an active scene. We have a crew there right now working to bring you the latest information, and we will continue to do that on air and on abc10.com. But before we go, I want to get to what we're working on for tomorrow. Local vineyards are ripping up their vines. It's because there's trouble in the market. Wine grapes are cheaper overseas, and winemakers say increasing government regulations are keeping production costs high. The Lodi Wine Grape Commission says an estimated 7,000 acres of local vines have been pulled out so far this year.
For those of us that have been in the business a long time, we've seen all sorts of down cycles and we've seen all sorts of up cycles. This one is particularly challenging.
So we're looking at the issue and what you can do to help your local vineyards. Don't miss this story right here tomorrow on To The Point. As always, thank you for welcoming us into your home. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.